Guys, we're here for another episode of the Made in Dreams podcast, but for now, it's just the pregame. So let's talk
Mm,
PSVR 2 pricing. And
let's.
I'm gonna take a moment so that Jamie can bow down to me and all of you doubters who said I was shooting too high and all of that. I want you all to take a moment and just love me as once again I've flexed my mind grapes and given you gold once again. But past that, there's more to talk about. What do
Mm.
you think of the price? Like, what now that we know that
Ah,
what's
okay,
your thoughts?
so my thoughts are, considering the actual spec of the thing, it's not out of bounds in terms of what it's priced. It's priced right for what it is. However, for a console-based VR system, I think it's overpriced. You're asking for more money than the actual console itself if you're going for the disc edition. And that's a very big, steep price to ask consumers that have already chowed down quite a bit for a PlayStation. I
Hmm.
personally think the sweet spot for this would have been like 380, 400, 420, like around that mark. And
You're
it would have been
crazy.
it would have been more enticable. Like, well, the thing is VR is very much a niche product, right? It's not like mainstream. It's
But
still
that
in that
but
it's
that's
still in.
why it can't be that price.
Yeah, but that if they made it more enticable with the price, it would draw in more people into this new space. Like it needs to
Mm.
grow.
It needs to grow, but it's a niche product and there's two ways to go about it. The people who really love VR headsets, they're going to get it. Like they may complain a little bit about it, but they're part of that niche. So do you and this I'm not saying I agree with this, but do you make them basically pay a price that'll keep you happy, or do you try to pull it down when you don't know what that market is going to be and possibly undercut your production costs, making you start off on the wrong foot at the jump and then not be able to really like they need the money to produce the thing.
I get it,
And so
and
but before we get too far into it, Multiverse Moo is with us today. So what are your thoughts on the pricing, my
Hello,
guy?
hello. Um, yeah, so I understand what James is trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
I counter with the PSVR being the most successful VR headset prior to the Quest, and
Yeah,
it was also over $100 more than the PS4.
that's true. These are
Now,
all true points.
your point about manufacturing and the you can't subsidize like the way you can a console is absolutely correct, on at least from my understanding. However, it's just like the $500 plus, and I'm talking USD here,
Mm-hmm.
uh, PSVR 1, it was sold out for months on end. It was super hard for me to get until, years later, I could easily pick one up as a bundle. The same thing's going to happen here, even with the increased production. Is it a
I
little more
mean,
expensive than I expected? Sure, by like $50. And that's before my hope was that it was going to be $499. Uh, you know, if they can manage it, or $399 if they could somehow subsidize. That would have been a dream, sure. But the tech is on par with like $1,000 headsets,
it is,
yeah,
yeah.
which is
and that's
crazy. It's a
and that's why
crazy
it can't be
value.
that price, that
Yeah, it's a
420
crazy
or
value already of what
320.
they're managing,
It,
but that's not going to remain that price very long, right? It's maybe a year or two. It's going to stay that
mm,
price, and it's going to be sold out most of that time. Like the pre-orders, we'll see how the pre-orders go in like 10 days, but I guarantee you, simply for the inclusivity of wanting to expand the VR market, the price will go down. And it'll probably come once they've have a larger library established, and the production costs can go down because they can increase production. But yeah, right now, even Xbox, like you guys were saying last time, is going to be increasing in price at some point. A lot of electronics are increasing in price just because our manufacturing is a bit out of whack. So they bumped the PS5 price, and that should have indicated to me it's probably going to be 50 to 100 more than I was expecting.
mm.
Uh, and that turned out to be the case. But yeah, I think ultimately the price, as long as it's, you know, not more than that, right? To like, you don't have to buy a camera, you don't have to buy a controller separately. It's all just built into itself. It's a single cable. That to me is cool.
All right.
If the
Well,
games are there. That's the important part.
That's the kicker.
Oh,
That's
There's
my
only like 15
main
games,
gripe with
right?
it.
There's only
Well,
like 15 games,
well,
and that's
it's
cool.
forget
But
that. Like for me personally, for me to invest any more in VR, I've had 3 headsets. I've had the PSVR 1, Quest 1, and Quest 2, and I'm just put off of VR now until the actual games catch up with. There you go. Until the games catch up with the headsets. Like the majority of games that are available in VR at the moment are very much experiences as opposed to fully fledged games. Like
some of them,
I
some of
want
them.
I want Half-Life Alyx on PSVR 2, and I want Sony to invest in their own IPs into PSVR 2, like fully fledged games, not just like a short 2-hour experience. Like for me, that's
Oh,
not what I
absolutely.
want. I want to be immersed in worlds and have hours and hours of gameplay. And currently, there's only a handful of games I could count that have actually done that.
Granted, that amount of hours may not actually be healthy.
No, very true.
There's
But
until we solve certain like issues that are like at the root of how VR works, especially like the fixed focal length.
mm,
Being in
yeah.
VR probably isn't that great for eyesight for that amount of time. Now that said, I'm in VR chat sometimes for 6 hours at a time, 7 hours at a time, just dancing with people and exploring worlds and getting scared. At scary worlds, not just because I'm in VR.
Oh.
Halloween, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, but
Well,
I totally agree, and there are those experiences on PC for sure, and I think Alex is a definite thing, and I think Beat Saber, while different, also offers like endless hours of
oh
music,
yeah, I mean,
especially because of the custom mods and stuff, right? And
yeah, I mean, I've put about probably 120 hours into Beat Saber
yeah,
myself. Like
so
it's
I'm right there with you, where I think if they're charging this much money and they hope to sell it beyond just the initial, early adopters and keep that price, the value proposition will be, okay, I can only experience the games I love in this new way, or these games from a property that I love or a game that I really want to try only this way. And those just aren't there yet beyond maybe Horizon and like, hey, we're porting Firewall and there's going to be the Firewall Ultra. And I love Firewall. I got an aim controller back there. But those two
well,
games alone are not going to make me,
no,
it'll make me wait a little longer for
yeah,
something
yeah.
else. Unless I get a discount. I don't know.
oh God.
I definitely want the PSVR too. I definitely love VR.
Look,
And I would
I've
definitely love Dreams in VR too, but that's all in the future. So
The
I've
settings
been
we've already
I've been
we're
I've been
already in.
trying I've been trying to get you guys to basically do this, like to basically stop for the whatchamacallit, for the
The intro.
yeah, the intro for like the last 10 minutes. So I'm just gonna leave it there. I'm going to go into the intro now, and we'll be back to start the show. Jamie, you in PSVR? Are you in VR in general? You. All right, guys.
It's a hot topic.
It is a hot topic.
meta's crashing and burning, so we'll see.
Yeah, to the ground.
My newest video, or not newest video, but the console experience, which was this little think piece I wanted to do for my YouTube, is basically all about that, and how I think it's completely ridiculous that the companies that are set up the best to actually create a metaverse, being gaming companies, being well, not Nintendo, not really,
Oh,
but
God, no,
being
please.
Xbox, being
No.
Xbox, being PlayStation, like how they're not the ones actually out here trying to do it, or at least to that extent. Now, of course, there's the money issue, but it's weird to me that it's like basically y'all build worlds and your studios build worlds for a living. You've basically built a million times what other companies are now trying to build for their first time. Like, why wouldn't you corner that market? But y'all can go look up that. It's called The Console Experience on my YouTube. Quick little video. But welcome to the 96th episode of the Made in Dreams podcast. As always, I'm your host, Mighty Vicious. And today, along with my co-host Jamie James, we're gonna throw
you almost forgot me there. For a second.
no. I thought about throwing some disrespect on you because of how you doubted me on this PSVR and all the bumping gums you gave me when I came out with what the price was gonna be, and you were like, "No, it can't be that." Well, okay, I'm just gonna sit here. Huh?
It is curious that Microsoft did have VR touted for the Xbox One,
Mm-hmm.
and then that just disappeared.
Yeah,
And
they
it was
realized
not,
that
no,
they.
or was that series? No, it was the one, right? It was they were talking
Yeah,
about
is
it
that-
earlier.
it was in the coding architecture.
It was also
found-
listed on their like page of like, hey, we're gonna this and that, and then just here.
Yeah, then they realized, you know what? Before we venture into a new platform, maybe we should fix the one we currently have.
Yeah, and maybe they
Yeah.
they realized the amount of power the one was launching at was probably not conducive to VR. Even the PS4 was barely managing like VR at a decent clip. Thankfully I had a Pro, so that helped a bit.
Well, and now that we're back, we're joined by MultiverseMoo. We didn't really ask what you wanted to be called. So do you want to be called by your name or do you want to be called by Multiverse?
I mean, my friends and family will call me Peter or Moo or Multi. My sister calls me Moo since I was little. That's where that came from.
Right.
Multiverse is just like the thing that my friends and I started years ago as a YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. People seem to like Multi-Moo, so that's
Multi-Moo.
That's my
All
handle,
All right.
But the multi is multiverse,
Oh, yeah. Multi-Moo. I still like it though. So anyway, we had our banter and all that stuff, but it's time to get the show on the road. So Multi-Moo, aka I'm just gonna call you Peter. Can I call you Peter?
Of course, yeah, you can absolutely can.
Okay, I just want to say because I feel like I'm speaking to a real business professional right now. And because you seem to have had your hands on a lot of things, and I want the people to follow you through your biography to really come to know who is the man behind the Moo. So please give us your background. What is your profession? How did you get to dreams? All that stuff.
Sorry. So I like to use just VFX artists because like VFX artists these days do like a million different things, right? Wear of many hats. That was what that random motion was. I'm not combing my invisible hair. So yeah, no, I've just always been interested in video production. I've done like, silly videos when my friends and I were younger, and then that kind of just developed into film school. But at the same time, I was also going to like work at Sony for game testing and other game related ventures. So somehow those things just met, and like I've been learning to do real time and visual effects and also offline visual effects, and just been producing videos or being on sets or being at a computer for days on end creating animation and composite work and way too much editing, but yeah, my friend Emilio, who I mentioned earlier, as somebody who is a close friend that works at a game studio, he said, you fit under the bill of end-to-end video specialist. So let's just go with that. I was a tester. I was the first
QA.
Yeah, it's first. So it was kind of weird because I, at the time, we'll go back to this weird story. So, I was done with school. I was looking for college and work, and it wasn't really quite interesting me or giving me much interest in pursuing anything at those places. And Star Wars Episode 3 was coming out. So I went to
Okay.
the theater with a friend and his dad, who's super talkative. And so, of course, he's talking to everyone in the aisle before like the movie starts. And the people next to us are a band, apparently doing their own reality show, and they're looking for help. And so he's like, "This guy does video." So fast forward a week, I am moving into their house
Wow.
because they liked what I do, and it was a chance for me to get
This
out
is
of my
so
house and start producing stuff. And so I was making basically a reality show for them and commercial videos and this and that. And eventually that moved on to me working in other stuff. Hold on real quick.
No problem. Meanwhile, I'm over here fighting this thing because
Yeah.
somehow this somehow this
Oh,
somehow
man.
this somehow this sex bot is
Somebody was like coughing outside, and it's my grandfather. I don't know what he wants, but
yeah. No, but
Anyway,
this sex
sorry.
bot is somehow posting without actually posting in my chat on YouTube.
How are they doing that? Oh God.
Oh, is that what that restream bot is posting?
Yeah,
YouTube
my
now?
private photo here. Like, yeah. Wait.
Yeah.
Oh, weird.
Oh wow.
I thought you were talking about my grandfather for a second.
Oh,
No. It's
Yeah,
just like I got rid of it when it showed up during my birthday stream, but apparently this thing is now somehow posting without actually posting. So I can't like mute the messages. You know
Bizarre.
what? It's so weird. Anyway, whatever. Life, I hate it here. So back to you.
continue.
So that
So
story
you
was
moved
just
into their house.
Yeah.
It was just that it was really cool. It was a really cool experience because I was doing video production work and live stream work and all this other stuff. And then the band kind of blew up, and they like played with Journey, and they were gonna do like a West Coast tour, and then they broke up. So
Typical.
Oh no.
yeah, so I still lived there, and some of the bands were trying to who remained were trying to do their own thing, and I decided, you know what, I'm gonna just get some work. And so I became a game tester at Sony because somebody reached out when I put my resume online.
Well,
And so
good.
that was cool.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, a show started airing called The Tester,
Yes.
which is very odd. So I was working as a tester near the end of my year there. This was basically when the PS3 came out. I was confused why anyone would want to win the work that I was at. I guess there's a allure of game testing, sure, but it was not something to be on a game show over. That was bizarre. We could say arrogant Sony, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't really think about game testing as like an actual profession at all until that movie Grandma's Boy came out. And and that was like when I was like, wait, now I knew this existed, but now that I think back to it, I just didn't even think of game testing in that type of form, like in a business form.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
anyway.
it was very kind of corporate on the outside at Sony, but inside, like it was kind of like Grandma's Boy sometimes. Like there was like a lot of people who were doing OT, and every time there was a lunch break, there was different things that would happen. People would either go play soccer or just go drive off to get food, or we'd stay on certain days inside, and somebody would have like their game. I would bring my Nintendo Wii in sometimes, and they would have their console there to host tournaments. So you'd have like Smash Brother tournaments at the PlayStation headquarters for test
Wow.
of the first part. What other game, right? Street Fighter, anything like that. Like
Yeah.
whatever game was like popular between like some of the floors. It was cool. Or sometimes we'd have actual PlayStation games that weren't even out yet that we could still play at lunch because we enjoyed them enough to like be like, all right, let's race. Gran Turismo in that sense. Yeah.
So what brought you to Dreams?
So, I didn't have a PlayStation until PS3. I had a lot of friends with PlayStation. I owned PS1 and PS2 games. Like I got like random games like San Andreas. Not random really, but I fell in love with a developer of a game that I actually
Oh.
owned and didn't realize it was the same people. I had Ragdoll Kung Fu, and I thought that was just the most ridiculous game, but I was able to put my friends into it, right? Like Photoshop them and stuff.
Mhm.
And that was really cool. And then later on, I was playing Little Big Planet, and so my friends had a garage where we'd hang out after high school and stuff and beyond. And so we would put a projector in there, or just had some big TVs, and we would all just play games together. And a lot of time was spent playing Little Big Planet, and just because it was multiplayer, so we could just.
Yeah.
So I have very fond memories of that. And then I just started seeing like their development videos, and Little Big Planet 2 was amazing too. So I just kind of became part of the community that way. I've even made like some small levels, nothing too crazy, but naturally when the PS5 reveal, showcase was happening and they showed off Dreams, I literally like skipped part of my film school, like college, to go to watch that with some friends, and my mind exploded, and I came back to school afterwards and was just telling everybody like, it's this crazy thing I saw. People don't seem to understand, like they were like moving like marionette figures and sculpting with their hands in like the air. I was just like, the potential for this is insane.
Yes.
So that got me initially started, and then of course I was there in beta and the pre-release beta, or whatever, the two betas, I guess.
Yeah.
The early access, yeah.
Yeah, and then years before that, I was able to play it a little bit at not at PSX, but the following weekend at a bar where they had a dev kit, and like Media Molecule was doing kind of an early like 10-year anniversary for the studio.
Nice.
And Kareem Itoni actually, like, I drew something which was like a TV with a tree on it and like a bubble and like a little face in it. He like Atois from you know who Atois is from the paper mache paper animated paper game. Tearaway. Sorry.
Oh yes, yeah.
He's something you're saying. But he basically threw it together in front of me and then let me kind of just finagle with like the moving things around, and just I was just so happy to see that, and I was able to like look at the thinking figure and some of the other sculpts that did like a robot mech thing that had been 3D printed. So I was just all in before it came out, and then it came out, of course, and I was stuck. in both ways. I was like super into it, and I played it, and I was seeing what people were making. Still, I had made stuff during the beta, and like I think I had the highest viewership of my Twitch channel ever during that, where people were like coming in and being like, make a banana sword, and I'm like, all right, make a bowl of babies. All right.
A bowl of babies.
Yeah, that's still a thing you can find on my InDreams profile, where it's just a bunch of babies like landing in a bowl and like a giant face looking at it with a spoon spinning.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
The most bizarre stuff. But my background was not necessarily in that kind of stuff. It was more in video production side and like motion graphics and VFX work. But I tried to apply it, and like as I was saying during the pre-banter,
Yes.
there's an idea that I had, because I really wanted to embrace dreams and lift it up in the eyes of like people who don't even know what it is. And I thought the VR version that will eventually come is a good idea, is a good potential here. So I just, I would hang out in dream streams. I still hang out in dream streams and like just chat with people, and then started coming together with that idea of like doing a live action video that kind of flows into the Dreamiverse and shows the potential of what someone could do who might be struggling to use much more complicated and like clinical software.
Yeah. Have you seen the other people around the Dreamiverse who have done so with like their YouTube? Like they've shown the integration between live action and like integrating dreams into it. That's like one.
So that was really cool.
So it's just so
incredible.
amazing what I've seen.
Yeah,
so far.
and I've done stuff like that as well as a test, just to have just see how it works. And the thing that I struggled with the most, probably true of everyone, was simply matching the camera movement. So static and slowly moving was a lot easier.
Yeah.
And then it's just composite work, right? You
Yeah.
just blend and add layers, whatever, to bring it all together, the color, the grain. That stuff is really cool.
Where,
So
on a side note, because
yeah,
you've mentioned it, where did you go to film school? If that's not too personal.
no, that's fine. The school doesn't exist anymore. I mean, it exists, but the location I was at is got shut down. It was the much controversial Art Institute.
Okay, I
Yeah,
get
there
you.
was
Yeah,
like people I met there were cool. The student loans I still have. Not so much the scam that it is, not so much, but
yeah,
it was really cool. And I did kind of coast initially just because I knew a lot of the stuff that we were learning, just from having done it so much. But I did get
yeah.
to then meet people and get onto movie sets and learn how to do like live production a lot more with actual like TV hardware and all that stuff. And I got to do a little bit better with audio and whatever.
Jamie, I'm gonna have you take over for me for a second because I need to take care of the fact that someone once again is cutting the grass
Oh no,
outside my window, and I know you can hear it.
I hear it a little
I'll,
bit.
I'll be right back, but
Okay.
Jamie, take it from here.
All right. So with the VR side of things, like when that came out and to what it is now, are you kind of disappointed that it didn't really pick up as much as you thought it would? Because like when VR came out for Dreams, I really thought this was going to be like the big push, and it's going to change the way that people use Dreams now. More VR headsets are going to get purchased, and there's going to be tons of VR content, and that didn't really turn out to be what I thought it was going to be. Like, what's your opinions on the VR side of Dreams?
I think the fact that they gave people the ability to make VR as easily as they did was amazing.
Mm.
But now we're looking at a double niche because Dreams itself is kind of niche in a way, right? A lot of people
Mm.
don't really know what it is still.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
very
even if
true.
sometimes they're memeing, but it's not like saying, "Oh, you now have Call of Duty VR," which they sort of did a little bit. And the controllers themselves aren't really that conducive to making VR games that we're used to. Everything had to have like a workaround, like Skyrim or No Man's Sky, where you hold a button and tilt,
Yeah,
no
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
joystick. Um, so it was really cool. I was able to throw an axe like Kratos and catch it, which was really neat. Somebody made that just because they could. And I've done a bunch of other stuff in there, but yeah, I think um, the way VR works on PS4 is limited enough as it is that kind of like there's the exchange of performance, right? For Dreams, we can't necessarily do things that look like The Last of Us,
Yeah, of course, yeah.
but we can make things so much faster and it's rendered in a completely different way. But that doesn't necessarily scale to VR as much. There's even more limitations at that point in terms of fidelity and thermo that you have to kind of address in order to make it playable. But if you just don't use those controllers and you just use regular D-pad, you can get away with a lot. I just don't think it's a lot of people realize what you can do with Dreams. Again, it's just like a perception thing. And this also just falls into, just did Sony want to push VR that much?
Yeah.
We don't know because they have a future of plans, however many years ahead. They have PSVR 2. And Dreams is, as awesome as Dreams is, has always been kind of like a weird thing to me in terms of like a company bringing out software that can provide thousands of different experiences that could potentially, if people like really embraced it, take away sales from other games that they would have normally gotten. Now that might be
Hmm.
counterbalanced now by something like PS Plus Extra, but it is a very interesting conundrum, if you will. Like how do you approach this? How do you offer this? As awesome as it is, and I mean, like for example, I'd love to make Epsilon in VR,
Mm.
but Java is the one who's like learned all that logic, and they would have to then work with him and Ian, and I'm still learning, but it would still be like, can we make this work and fun and still look half as good?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's no foveated rendering, there's
Mm.
nothing like that.
I'm gonna have to say we need to get off the VR topic just because the
Yeah,
the idea
for sure.
somebody wrote no, just because somebody wrote in chat that they think that Sony's abandoned it, and that would That
abandoned
would
VR?
I think abandoned dreams and VR.
Oh, right,
and
okay. I was going to say like.
and that really does sadden me. Not really the VR part, but because you know we talked about it for the last 2 weeks. You know
Yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah, for sure.
dreams not being compatible with PSVR 2 really dealt a blow for me. Like
Mhm.
so we'll just leave that as
All
it
right.
is.
Let's just
Yeah, we'll
move
leave it
on
as it.
then. Yeah.
So you find out about this thing in the back alleys and you're sculpting with the creators like or the man of mystery himself, making bowls and babies and all sorts of things. And then
Yeah.
and so while you're explaining, like this is a very eventful life I'm hearing right now. So but so you go from that point. You're waiting for dreams. It comes out, and you find yourself in the company of what many would say is the biggest success from Dreams currently, which is Noguchi's Bell. So you don't have to go very in depth because I know there's a lot of stuff back there
It's the
as far
same
as what's
person.
going on. Yeah.
It's the same person. So we all know Tap Giles.
Yes.
Hmm.
They reached out to me because they were one of the people I was also speaking to about that live action video.
Hmm.
They reached out to me and said, knowing my background in video production, said, "Hey, could you take a look at a trailer that somebody's working on?" That turned out to be the very preliminary Kickstarter trailer for Noguchi's Bell episode 2 and beyond.
Hmm.
Right? At least that's how the Kickstarter was like framing it.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like, this is dreams, blah blah blah, and it was a much larger cut. So I took that and I met Michael and we started chatting. And I kind of cut it down for him, rearranged some stuff, and sent it back to him. And he really liked it. And so we just kept talking from then on there. And soon enough, I was working on tidbits with the script. I was looking at like the outline. I was looking at like pretty much creating a production, uh, you know, organizational. I don't know what to call it right now, but like it's a production book,
Yeah.
but virtual, with like all the scenes, all the characters, all the props, all the set dress, all the voices we're gonna need, everything. So I started just getting way more involved, and then like working on trailers, working on like behind the scenes, then working with the voice actors. So I just kind of got thrown into the thick of it because we had a chemistry there, and then I ended up finding out, pretty early on, who was involved with this. A ton of the people I was already talking to for the live action project.
Yeah.
Child was there,
Yeah.
just a bunch of folks that like I had known just a little bit of. Ian was there. So that's Tap Giles. He was also involved for a good while there. Um, yeah, so I just got thrown into that. It got kind of crazy, kind of cool. Got to meet a lot of people. Got to learn a lot about the production process of using dreams to make a show, which is
Mm.
completely different from what I'm used to. But it was really cool, and I was able to help out with stuff that they weren't used to or just didn't have experience with.
Okay.
Which was basically wrangling all those voice actors that we were, especially the guest voice actors. And then I got to do a small part in the episode as well. So that was fun.
Awesome. So, and then you finish with what you're working on at that time, I guess, for Noguchi, because I don't know what the production looks like at this point. But and do you immediately go from that and start working on your newest release, which is Epsilon?
So no, Noguchi's Bell was, the episode 2 was in production throughout the holiday season that year. And that's when I first started talking to Java, who, I was just doing my own thing, right? Like I was doing like the stuff in the background, but I was still streaming. And so that's how I met Java, who uh, had heard, I think it was Tap, had reached out to me about a project. And it was no good. It was on Epsilon, right?
Yeah.
Just to take a look at it. And so I started talking to Java, who's in my stream, and he gave me access to the alpha version of the game, which is basically like mostly, content complete. I can make it to the very end.
Mm.
very early, as you'll see later in some of those videos. It's not even the earliest, right? Like I tried to make it look. I tried to use the levels that were complete as possible, but the entire time, and I do this for a lot of dreams. I used to do this a lot more, where I would play through dreams and just tell people stuff, like about, it would be really cool if you did this here, or I had a problem with this. Here's a couple ways you might mitigate that, and just kind of go through like the development breakdown
Yeah.
process of like, from my experiences with games and my experiences with like, game design, which is when I went to film school, I was also in a ton of game design classes. I didn't sign up for them. I was just there hanging out with people I knew, and like learning from them and teaching them what I knew. It was just a mishmash of ideas.
Yeah.
Um, so we just got to talking, and then like he's like, "Do you want to do the voice for this character?" And I was like, "Sure." So, because I was just saying some of the lines that the character was saying in my own style, because it was just kind of placeholder audio. So it's like, wow, this is a big place,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like, oh, maybe there's some supplies here, and it's just like somebody just reading, right? Like, it's nothing too crazy. So he's like, yeah, I like the way you're saying those things. Now, Java is also from Spain, so he speaks Spanish
Yeah.
primarily, right? He does know some English, but my first language is also Spanish, a different kind of Spanish, right? Because I'm in California, but that's how we ended up kind of getting to communicate a little bit more. And Soul Vibes is in the game as well. She's just like quoting her own line. Yeah, so he just kind of brought me in after we had chemistry again, kind of like in Noguchi's Bell. There was just good chemistry, so we just started talking more, and then they started integrating some of the ideas and the feedback that I had about how to do certain things. For example, in the I don't know if you've played Epsilon yet, but there is
I have.
a level immediately after the demo called the River,
Yeah.
and you kind of circle around and go up this pathway, and there's a bunch of hops, and then if you fall, you have to go all the way back around and keep doing that.
I fell. Yes.
Now,
I felt too.
at one point, I suggested, "Hey, did you ever play Uncharted? There's a part where you go through this kind of wrap around, and if you make it just far enough, a rock falls over, and now you can just climb up that way instead of having to wrap all the way around." So, I think like a few days later, he's like, "Oh, look, a rock now falls when you jump here, and it lands, and you can just climb on top of that now." And I was like, "Yes," like. So I was just providing little things like that. Yeah.
I missed it.
The fun thing is, when I recorded that line, I'm like, "Oh, is this going to keep happening?" Kind of, evoking the Nathan Drake-esque thing. And so at least I'm not under it. But funny enough, I've died under it a few times when the rock used to fall even slower. If you fell with it and like stood and looked up, it just falls on you.
Nice.
My character's like, at least I'm not. You die. So I just ended up doing that, and I brought to them, some writing critiques, if you will, and I just started working on the script itself. So we had the initial writing, and then I was kind of doing my own takes of the word, like the way the things were happening, and I brought the idea of audio pad and audio logs to like a la Horizon, a la whatever BioShock, to give it lore and to give it to add to the overall story. And then we started discussing the actual like extent of what is really the story. How do we bring this around? Actually, one of the latest the last inclusions was an audio pad at the very end that brings everything full circle. I don't want to spoil it, but for anyone who's beaten the game, they know that after like this kind of like ending monologue, or like this little ending sequence, there's an additional audio log from a very strange looking device that I sculpted, like a little rugged communicator.
Okay.
And that's my buddy Ultra Fox, who, is saying some words of sad wisdom.
So when this, like speaking, because I guess we'll have to have Java on if Java would like to come on.
Yeah.
So Java actually gave me some information to share, if that's okay, because his English is not his first language, so he uses like translate a lot. But I can actually give you a little story if you'd like about how he and Ian met and how
Oh,
Ep
well,
started.
well, please, yeah.
Yeah, that's where I was gonna go with from because I
We'll do,
wanted to know where the ideas came from.
we'll do story time. I'm sure Java would love to be on as well, but he is in the stream.
Yes.
So he actually used to make Far Cry map, and so did like Ian, I think, or Ian. Ian's a painter, and like painted landscapes, and said that, hey, your levels kind of inspired me. And so they kind of just got, and they're just chatting back and forth like this for a while, right? And like Java ends up making this like toys room level that blew up, and then recreated this in Dreams because he saw Dreams. It was like, hey, we should try this. This looks like do anything. Of course, first person shooting was not really a template that existed early on.
Yeah.
So some of the creators, like the Burger Van, right, kind of did their own thing. They fly solo, but they knew each other. But after that toys room, he and Ian were like, you know what? Let's try something else. I already got this driving model figured out, and so they made Roadstar. And so Roadstar was pretty cool. It was like, a little kind of arcade racing game that got pretty good. Meanwhile, they were trying to get this idea off the ground, and again, Tap was involved, but didn't even ended up not committing to it because he was very haphazard in a way. Like it was just the ideation phase, testing this and that. So Epsilon was originally a 2.5D game.
Oh, wow.
And it was a completely different story. Well, not completely. It was a very different story about a kid and his mom who were like basically stowaways on a spaceship because their dad was forced to go work in this like secret place, and so they stowed away on this ship and like had like a little robot friend and all this other stuff. But again, this is all kind of in flux, and the idea was revolving around this corporation named Epsilon and some secret it had and some sort of strange mushroom kind of thing, something like that. It wasn't quite fully figured out, but it wasn't working well, and the logic was really kind of something that Java just didn't know yet. He just kind of this rudimentary, and then Taps was busy with other things, so he basically almost gave up. Then Ian produced a landscape with like a kind of plane landscape. Huge. And he said, "Hey, can I mess with that?" And that turned into the purple mushroom like field. Yeah. So that kind of sparked, something in Java to just let's try again. And so he started he got the intra attack FPS template, and he got a bunch of different logic, and just for like for like the duration of last year, or for the end of last year, and then like a lot of this year, just working backwards, to reverse engineer. How does this work? How does this work? How does that, like variables? A tricky thing. We didn't have reloading, and we didn't have certain things like just across like the sensitivity settings across levels until the final release, and the demo's not even there because it's one of those last things. Still trying to figure out how does this. Yeah. Is this Java just threw himself into the thick of it. Meanwhile, I'm there like trying to figure out other weird bugs too. Once I got brought in, and Ian
maintenance droids
as well as Ian
Thought it was lowered. Okay.
Has also just been since Noguchi's Bell 2 and beyond has been leveling up his environments, which is why some of these levels got such a crazy glow up. And intra attack out again, like your first person shooter was monumental into making this, play as nice as it does. So yeah, he and Ian made Roadstar 2, and at that point is when the 2.5D was happening, and then they switched to first person. Now there's somebody cutting grass outside mine or something. You hear that?
Yes, I heard it.
What the hell?
Everybody's cutting grass today.
The Friday curse is evolving.
Blowing leaves, I guess.
Yeah, it's involving other people now.
Yes.
So it's funny, like Ian was also working on Disdain and Noguchi's Bell 2 and Epsilon at the same time, but he and Java managed to release Roadstar 3 during all of this. And if whoever's played Roadstar 3 might recognize some of the elements in the background, like the volcano look familiar because it's a Dreamverse, asset that has just been tweaked and added integrated, gameplay to it. So basically, Ian and Java became fast friends from the Far Cry days. Dreams was this kind of new ground for them, and they just have really good like chemistry and friendship, and like me and Java are fast friends as well. Ian and I would say are friends, but not like as close as them because obviously much less time. But we did work on Noguchi's Bell too, so at the very least we're work buddies.
Work
But
butter.
also a very cool person, his eye for organic nature, like backgrounds and settings is so cool. And like I think Held was saying the other day, seeing that used in like on a more alien setting, like a not quite familiar to normal Earth way, it was really neat because it just adds a lot to have these vistas that feel real, even if it happen to be purple or whatever.
Yeah, just I don't know if you see right now, but I have the video going of the alpha versus the final cut of it, and yeah. So I guess when they were putting together this story, like, did they have? Do you know of their inspirations? Were there any like film influences or whatever that?
I think I'll let Java speak to that, but there's definitely lots of influences in the story. The general idea was to kind of give uh, you know, a game that's driven by mystery and echoes that of sci-fi movies and games that we all know. Like a little bit of
Yeah.
No Man's Sky, a little bit of Halo. All of those are driven by the mystery of what's progressing. I'm sure Java can be more specific about his influences, but when it came to like the actual story, I'm all about multiple dimensions and time travel and just I love sci-fi in general. So
Okay. Favorite time
I made
travel
it
movie? Go.
Doctor Who, not a time travel,
I said
but
I said movie.
but it just had a feature length special episode.
Well, we're not going to have our fight about Doctor Who today,
Yep.
but I will accept it.
I almost wore my my shirt. There's actually a little TARDIS there on my light too.
Oh.
But I can just say Back to the Future, Terminator. There's
Oh,
just a
nah.
bunch
I
of
don't want you
stuff.
to mail it in. Doctor Who's
I'm not.
fine.
I'm not mailing it in. I'm not mailing it. Where'd my DeLorean go? My DeLorean is right there with Pen from
Yeah.
Evangelion. I don't know if you can
No.
see it over there.
Yeah, think it's just out of shot, but well, out of shot
it's right
for
there.
the screen I'm looking at. But yeah. The funny story, the DeLorean. I know the family that owns the actual DeLorean from the Back to the Future movies, and
Nice.
and they
Wow.
basically anytime you see that car, it's because they're like allowing someone to use it. So anyway,
I
all right.
think the key thing is that despite me having a bunch of silly, references, right? Like I referenced the fact that in a lot of shooters you can't see your feet because there's no body as a
Mhm.
line. I like a literally say something like can't even see my feet, like right in the
Mhm.
opening. We have references to Clerks. We have some very obvious actor references, like a certain launch pad guy who's like standing in there who sounds like he likes propane, and a lab research chief who sounds like he'd like to do a lot of walking. And the thing is that if just from playing it, you can kind of feel the influences of just a lot of the games that uh, make up PlayStation. Like, and some of the things may not even be. They just might be like a crossover. But people have mentioned stuff like Farpoint, right?
Yeah.
VR
Mhm.
game.
Mhm.
No Man's Sky is an obvious one, but then you have just like a lot of other people referencing stuff that I know might subconsciously have influenced Java. Um, it's just kind of it's just a mash of stuff we've got from the Dreamiverse. I was about to say multiverse that was refined and kind of brought into cohesion, and it's its own little tale of well, corporate greed and the future of humanity, which are very real things right now.
Oh,
And I
yes,
think
very much so.
those were the driving forces of like, let's make a story about this that like, it certainly evolved from just the initial thing was like, hey, purple mushrooms, what could those be?
Did you?
And the intrigue of finding a skeleton where it shouldn't be,
Yeah.
that whole like exploration, but also danger, I think is really what drives the overall thing. Brought together, of course, by those like amazing environmental designs and set dress. Java did a lot as well. He did a lot of the more like 3D printed society kind of futuristic building structure that was made by some sort of machines rather than nature. So a lot of that you see is all Java as well in the levels.
So I asked Java what their favorite time travel movie is, so I'm gonna wait for that in chat. But while we do that, I guess you gave me a video for the nerve cells, and I want to spend a little time talking about that because it really goes into one of the things that I really think dreams would do well to. Well, it would murder educational gaming.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I've said for years in many different podcasts that educational gaming is like the least. It's basically like the least used genre of gaming, and the one that actually, it's where I believe actual like VR has a future. It's like if you can,
I mean, VR and AR, right?
yeah, VR and AR, but like the idea of doing this. Let me set this thing to loop real quick because I don't think I did. And what exactly, like, why? Well, I guess what led you to approach this?
So what you're seeing is a combination of Element 3D's volume effect, which is the inside of it filling up of just a cylinder, right? It's just a cylinder, nothing crazy. And real life footage and a bunch of cells made in dreams. And that's it. The thing is that when we're doing these these videos that are sometimes very like tight, time constraints, and it's not like we had like crazy computers accessible to us. We all had to work with what we had at the office. And I had dreams, and I was like, look at this. And we had been testing it for other stuff. We were testing it for, the live action dreams project. And I was like, what if I just make a couple of like these like cylindrical like loops and then like throw this little model at it, and I can project a bunch of it with an emitter. And my boss was like, sure, how long will that take you? And like seriously, 15 minutes later, this looked kind of like this. Not the camera movement, it was just me making the cells, in a cylindrical format, just spread out and grow. Simple keyframe, right?
Yep.
Right, and then just duplicate that down in a row. And then I had another one that's just the emitter of it flying past. That's literally it. It's nothing that crazy. It just looks like it's sticking to it because, whatever. Then I just did like a, a little effect on top of it and combined the two things. And I just motion tracked the camera move. Super simple, right?
Yeah.
And what was their reaction when they found out like how quickly you could pull this off with dreams? Like, was there any reaction?
Immediately
to that?
asked, yes. First off, we couldn't integrate it into everything because I would need to ask for permission again. Because this was, I already had a commercial to use, a license to use this at Cinetellers for certain things. This video was kind of in like a gray zone because it is medical in essence, but it's still a corporate video, right? For this company. And I initially got it so that I could use it for our nonprofit style work where we did it because we would do videos for schools as well. We do film festivals. We did some of our own videos where like short films like Remembrance, which you can literally watch on Amazon and stuff. But then one of the videos I think I sent you was for the Almaden Country Day School. And that was the original reason I wanted to use dreams at work before I could get better at it. and then maybe use it for other stuff. I use it for like my YouTube channel and stuff. Like my logo animation is made in Dream.
Yeah.
But the fact that I could do certain things like this that would take me like several days to do on just After Effects and like Cinema 4D in an hour, like my boss was just like eyes wide, like you could really do this. And I was like, yeah, not in every case, but for something like this where like it looks complicated, but once you can see what's happening, stuff is just flying by and appearing. That's it. But in essence, it does the job of like when it's narrated by like, cells stick to it, blah, blah, blah. It works. The thing that took the longest to render was literally that volume effect where I just took a cylinder model and told it to like fill in, like a liquid fill in effect. That took my computer over an hour to do, just that.
Yeah.
I think actually the final probably took even longer, right? But the throwing the cells and making the cylinder in Dreams took 15 minutes. It's insane. Like the most complicated part to animate took less time than it took to make just put a cylinder down and then wait.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like with Dreams, there is no rendering. Like that's what's so amazing and like mind blowing to me is like to do anything on a PC, like you do it and then you've got to leave it sometimes overnight to render. Whereas with Dreams, you do it and it plays.
You can do stuff in Dreams though the other way around, and we were testing this. And this is before PS5 was so. One of the things you can do, and this we didn't end up doing this for Noguchi's Bell, though I did do some tests where we could run a scene at like quarter speed, and we would change the cameras to have a different level of motion blur, but to have more camera blur, so that the image resolves a lot more. And so it would slowly move around. The motion blur would match the way it needs to. And so, for example, in the trailer for Noguchi, or just in the episode 2, where you see the fight between him and his master overhead, and the sword swings, depending on the console you're watching that on, the arc of that sword will become a lot more like a lot more blocky versus smooth. I have a perfect arc version of that. And the rest of the animation also moves in a very like 60 FPS fluid way. Looked a little weird. Took a bit of time to get it to work right, and for some reason the leaves are flying by at hyperspeed, but because that's a whole other system we would have to tweak. But you can run Dreams at a slower clip and then speed it up if you want to get more resolution out of it, almost like baking stuff a little longer, because one of the things people do in certain scenes, if you've ever noticed in Dreams, is if you set the camera to have like a high amount of camera blur, but you don't move the camera and you load the scene will clean up. And you'll get this pristine quality image. But if it's just running without that blur, it'll look a little bit jittery, like in that Dreams look. And as soon as you move the camera with that high blur, of course, it looks like a ghost trail effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you do that at a slow speed, you can actually kind of do like a pseudo pre-rendering of Dream.
So we had questions because I also got a little confused on this, but the person was saying, so is the liquid effect made out of Dreams? Or
nope, that's the one thing I did in using Element 3D.
Okay.
And then we used Red Giant plugin for the pulsing.
Though there is a way to do that.
There probably is, but I didn't know how.
At the time, yeah.
I know I could probably do like soft blending stages. I know Robo has done this where he's made things like morph in and out, and soft blending exists in Dreams, but only in the editor, right? You can't like really have the soft blend effect runtime.
Yeah. Let's see here. And I know Bad Robo is in YouTube chat right now. So let me see here. You get rid of this way. Yeah, you get rid of the grain this way. He was talking about, I believe, what you're talking about with the camera. But so I guess where I want to go next, unless there's more that you would like to go over, I'm going to throw on this demo reel. And
oh my gosh, this old stuff.
Yeah, it's the old stuff. As they can see, it's 2017. But
it's so cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean, don't disrespect this man.
Oh no, for sure.
This man has an IMDb page. I already told him. That means that's a big deal to me. personally, because I can go and look up what he's worked on, and I'm all about it. But yeah, you see this man, he's doing just great work, and
So
you
this
got
is
to
CineQuest, the film festivals that happen here in San Jose. And Remembrance being the short film that we filmed. That was actually a tricky one because I wasn't there for a lot of it. And then we came in and tried to. This actress, she's got a twin sister, but the twin sister doesn't act. So we had to composite her into two scenes, twice in each scene.
Mhm.
It was just a headache. And I also had to create like a virtual camera, like 3D space. No dreams involved, unfortunately, but with like a photo of them as they were little kids, and like it was supposed to pan down from the bathroom, down this picture, down the steps, out like this like impossible camera move. And I was trying to make it in 3D, and it was just a hot mess. Luckily, we ended up just cutting it in correctly in the final product. But yeah.
So, I mean, well, I don't know how to word this, but I guess when I was going to ask what's next for you in dreams. Like, is dreams, like, do you have a project that you're ready to jump into now that you feel like everything's been building up to?
Sort of. There's a couple things that I've been like experimenting with, and I've been having a lot of fun with sticker mode.
Oh yeah.
There's obviously stuff that I wish was happening that isn't happening. Maybe one day will happen, like next year or something. If Media Molecule's like, hey, we got a new version of blah blah blah, that I'd love to experiment with. There's many projects that I have kind of in flux that I would like to like get back to now that I've learned a bit, just to make them. Some of them are experiences, like, and some of them unfortunately fall under copyright, right?
Yeah.
For anyone who's a Final Fantasy VII fan,
Oh yeah, you got me.
in the
Oh, there we
remake,
go. There.
in the remake, there is a bar, and I started recreating that bar, Seventh Heaven.
Yeah.
However, in the original game, you actually get to go downstairs to the secret base.
Yeah.
But in remake, you don't see that. You just see the machine go down, and you couldn't use the pinball machines, which we all know in Dreams you
Yeah.
can.
Really annoying.
There's some pinball machines in Dreams. So I started building Seventh Heaven, and I've been trying to build the underground base in a style reminiscent of remake, just to imagine it, just for fun. And that was me learning the VR as well. It was for VR, mind you. I also, another thing I really like is Evangelion, the anime.
Yes. Yes.
And
Now we're speaking my language.
also wanted to make a VR experience that was kind of like a highlights from the first 2 episodes of the show / the intro of the movie, where from the perspective of Shinji, you are, thrown in front of this giant head, and maybe even on a boat before that, learning about what you're about to encounter. Then you're inside this thing filling up with liquid, and now you see out of it. The problem, of course, is that you don't have video in Dream, so we can't easily stream like some of the holographic elements that like of somebody talking to you. But Zephyr, he goes like
Zephyr,
Yafed.
Yeah.
Zephyr, thank you. Has done some cool stuff using the sticker mode that looks like a projected TV, where he's using symbols across the screen. He posted this on Twitter and actually linked me to it yesterday. That could work. We could make use stickers to make an anime character appear and yell at you, even if it's static, but it looks like it's holographic, like icon. That would be cool. But the idea was just to make an experience where you are in the Ava, and people have already made some Ava, stuff. But I wanted to make a proper VR one. I've played a little bit of VR chat where you're inside of an Ava, but not everyone has VR chat, and that was more like you're just in there, like walking around doing nothing. I wanted to make something like where you can feel the actual, connection, and like you are now the Ava kind of thing. That's an idea. Hasn't progressed that far. I know a few people who are also fans that would like to work on it.
Have you have you ever played Zone of Enders?
Of course, yeah.
Oh, okay. Just check.
Hell yeah, yeah. I have not
checking.
played much of the VR version though, and I believe that's third person VR.
I didn't know they had a VR for that.
Yeah, for PS4, the remaster, there's a VR version.
Oh, that's right. They did do the
Hmm.
remaster. Okay. Yeah, all right. Well,
There is a script I helped like rewrite over 10 years ago for a short horror. That's something I'm working on. It is it's just a short film. I initially was thinking about it during Halloween, but I didn't want to rush it. I think I'm going to be it's first person in perspective most of the time. I think I'm going to be putting that together with some people. We're going to be using like VR chat as the motion reference because
mm,
they can do full body tracking, and then we'll get the animation reference that way. And then we can go and build it within Dreams, and then we can put voice actors to it. And I already have a bunch of those scenes. I could probably send some screenshots if you'd like, but um, that's very early. But it'll be fun to do, I think, and it'll be done well before next Halloween. But it'll just be fun to have put together my own animation that isn't like the janky ones on my own in Dreams so far. um,
I got a bunch of those myself. So,
and the one thing we were talking about, and this is also like I was experimenting with stickers for this. Um, Ian had suggested at one point that Java should just do a showcase of the environments, just something chill, because some of these environments are really really nice
yes, they
in.
are.
And so Java went off and made his own like organic little experience where it's like you're just walking on like a a little forest area on some mountainscape. I don't know if you've played that, but a UFO appears out of nowhere. Like you can step into the light if you wish.
Oh,
That's really cool.
I think I
Um,
saw someone play through that. I don't think I have.
yeah. It was really fun to try out. So he was doing that. Meanwhile, I started writing. So there's a character that I don't know if you saw Rip2 was here earlier. He might still be around.
Yeah.
Named Jimmy. It's a kind of like a little side story that I integrated into the Epsilon plot, right? Where and then Java went a step ahead and like actually put his name on the door opposite of Susan's door. And
Hmm.
so you hear a few different like audio recordings from Jimmy, suspecting that something's going on. Dave seems to know who Jimmy is. He's worried about him, and then eventually you find his body with
mm.
the spiders. Um, And we actually have a recording we didn't use because like something was wrong about it. But it was somebody referencing Jimmy also later on. It's like, "Are you with that kid who stole the uniform?" And then my friend Blunted Violet, she also talks about like how for some reason there's like falsified documents, but the writing looks like Jimmy's. Like, it looks like his handwriting.
Yeah.
Um, so we had just this random side story, like just to kind of there's this other person, and I wanted to do kind of like a relaxed almost safari-esque, right? Like Pokemon Snap, even where it's just like a ride along with Jimmy or a walk along with Jimmy, where you meet some of the other characters that we already met in the main game, but all you're doing is going along with him because he's a scout. He's scouting out alongside my friend. And there's another person right here who like is got an audio log next to the supplies that was in the clip previously,
Hmm.
who's just talking about also just going around scouting for locations to build out, the facilities in areas that might provide more resources. Meanwhile, Jimmy's going around trying to find locations for agricultural resources and stuff like that, right? But he's also suspicious for some reason. So the idea was to explore that thread, meet some of these characters again, just doing their normal day job, and what leads Jimmy to like want to go on this like this like thing he does this before the events of Epsilon the game,
Huh.
as a way to just kind of have like a chill look at the environments and just hang out and learn more about the world. And that could be a fun like little diversion even in VR before we can hopefully manage to get a VR version of Epsilon one day.
Interesting.
I think it would be fun to play Epsilon with VR, but
Yeah,
also I just really like the world that was created for it, and I just think it'd be nice to hang out there again
yeah, it's very fitting because it's very
with
picturesque. Like
without
the
being killed.
yeah, but like the scene work in Epsilon is so pretty. Like that, it really fits for VR to be able to experience that and just be able to just stand and observe the natural environments that's been made. It'd be really cool to see that in VR.
So, we all have a bunch of different projects and ideas, and I'd love to do a ton of different things, but there is something about crafting a world and then living in it long enough to like come up with more stories in it, because I don't know, something about that's just really neat to me. I think that's why I like something like Doctor Who, which doesn't obey many very rules of anything. It's very zany, but there's a lot of recurring characters and themes and backstory that all ends up kind of flowing through this same, metaverse or universe or whatever you want to call it. Just
Yeah.
like Final Fantasy VII, right? Just like Evangelion, there's like literally alternate versions or just extended versions of things that are expanded on and that might look cool or just be some random thing in the past, and now we revisit it and there's this whole other world to explore that's in the same universe, and it gives you a reason to like know what you're doing, so you're a little more comfortable with the idea of exploring something that has been established. Even like those weird giraffe creatures, I would love to see more animals like that and just hanging out and learn about them. Right now all we know is they're peaceful monsters or peaceful giants, that's it. But there was a little one and a big one, and that already is like telling me, like, is that a baby? Like, what's going on
Yeah.
here? Like, why are they trapped in here? You know?
So, yeah. I mean, is there anything else you would like to tell the people though that you would like to talk about before we go into the closing discussions and get completely sidetracked by, well, you know what? I got one. And I guess Java, if you're still in chat, I guess I need you to answer this. Was this ever going to be a movie and not a game? Because as I played through it, there are certain things where I was just like, I really like what they did here, but I feel like somebody wanted to make a movie. And and I was like, I don't know, it would have, how would you put it? It just felt like there were times where I was like, it definitely has that cinematic aspect to it with the backgrounds and the details and the world building. And it's certain moments from where I've gotten so far in Epsilon, I've really been set back as like, I don't know, it feels like someone wanted to make a movie.
That could be my fault. I don't know. I did add a lot of writing and audio to the game where there wasn't before. It used to just be some text here and there.
Mm.
Um, but I do think the cinematic aspect was always kind of the intent to be there, just to have this like kind of adventure. But like I said before, Epsilon was originally a 2.5D game about a little boy and his robot and his mom. Um, so I don't know. Maybe Java also likes movies enough that he wanted to make something like akin to that, right? Something Star Trek-esque in a way and
Mm.
exploratory. My background again is a lot of filmmaking, so
Yeah, sort of bled into the production of it.
perhaps like when especially with the audio logs and some of the things that we have the characters say, like Lucas is the laboratory chief and helps spice up his dialogue, there.
Mm.
Um, Movies and games are very synonymous when it comes to storytelling right now. There's a lot of things
Yeah.
that games can do that movies can't, and things that movies do in your head that games don't normally do just because you're interactive. But we
Yeah.
do have a lot of games that are basically movies, that you choose like one thing or the other, let this person die or not. And for the most part, when you're playing a game like this, that's kind of it's linear, it's wide open, right? But it's linear in terms of progression.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The story events will unfold in a kind of linear-esque fashion unless you miss certain tidbits. And that's what those audio pads are there. They're optional, but they fill in some of the gaps and they offer like, a little bit of insight into this
Mm.
world.
A more
No.
full experience. Yeah.
Yeah, which is
Fant-
again, right? All the stories we tell are just kind of pulling from our own lives and stuff, which is why if I were to go back into Epsilon, the planet, right, and tell these stories prior to the events of the game in a more passive way, like in a movie like way. Again, it'll just be a story that unfolds based on what's going on in my life and Java's life and Ian's life and whoever's life, told through through the perspective of these characters. And it's not always by choice. A lot of times it's subconscious that we come up with these premises and these ideas, but they just they pull from what we are, what we have in mind, what we think about, what we gravitate towards in the real world.
Yeah.
Which is why, like, when people say, "Oh, keep politics out of games," no, games are political inherently by the creators. There's politics that those people adhere to, even if they don't care about certain things. What they stand for, what they represent, will always bleed through one way or another into their art, whether it's
Always.
spoken or written, or if it's literally just artwork or their choice of how to represent a character. Does Rivet from Ratchet and Clank have prominent chest or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then whether or not they stand for those things in the actual development room becomes even more important, I think. But like all that stuff bleeds through from the real life, and I think yeah. So Job is a lover of science fiction. So if you'd mind me saying something in Spanish real quick. Te
Yeah.
preguntaron si esta era una película antes, la idea de Epsilon se siente como una película, entonces él estaba preguntando si pensaba de hacer eso antes del juego. Basically, what you asked,
Yeah.
was this going to be a movie before it was a game, or
I understand more than I can speak at this point.
I don't speak as much as I used to.
But
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
I used to take it for like 6 years, and then I just like I definitely can pick up on what people are saying, but if you told me to speak a lick, I couldn't do it. It's like my brain just no longer wires that way. Like to be able to do it, I'm just lost. But
man, I'd love to speak a second language. That'd be so cool.
One of the things that I think I would like to continue doing is voice. I'll say that.
Voice is fun.
It's something that I've always enjoyed talking to friends and being on podcasts and narrating and I've done a little bit of voice work for like some of those cybersecurity videos sometimes.
Nice.
With Noguchi's Bell episode 2, I really started getting into the idea of like, instead of, because I've directed short films and some of the bigger ones, like the ones that like my senior thesis, I would like throw up sometimes because I'd be on running a big set, and it's all this responsibility. And
Yeah.
sometimes they couldn't handle it. But when I have the support of a good team and it's something a little more refined or smaller scale that I can handle personally, like voice acting and voice directing. So far that's been really fun to do with Noguchi's Bell. I think we have some, even with some of like the most difficult of circumstances, let's say, where we have like people who have zero experience doing voice acting, we managed to make episode 2 sound pretty good. And then with Epsilon, there's folks, that I just brought in a bunch of friends. I brought in my friend from, who was in the chat earlier, Spanker. Soul has never done voice acting. Rip2 has, Rip2 is amazing, but he was probably by far the easiest to work with. Just because he gave me a bunch of options, and I was like, cool. And he's also in Noguchi's Bell episode 2 at the very end, like a last minute voice edition, and he like just stole the show, I think, with his voice. That's like there is a boy,
Yeah.
who carries a bell, and that's him like destroying his throat.
Yeah.
I think doing more work in that realm where it's voice acting and also just working with voice actors who, people who just haven't done voice acting would be really cool to do. Especially with Dreams, where a lot of people need that. And like,
Java said, I would have liked it to be like that ever since I was a teenager. I always wanted to be a film director or to tell stories, but all my professional life has been linked to advertising and graphic design. Just know you are not alone in case that bothers you sometimes, because that's usually how it goes these days. I mean, I have a friend who has a film production company, and even with the production company, he still doesn't get to work on creative outlets really at all, but definitely as much as he would want to. So it's a real thing. I mean, you got to pay bills before you can make a movie. I mean, that's just the way it goes. So, I mean, Bravo, man. You've done a great job. All of you have done a
Yeah,
great
it's
job for Epsilon. And
it is.
Yeah, let it be clear that Ian and Java are the driving forces here. I came in, when it was already content complete, and just did everything I could to just raise the experience with whatever means possible.
yeah.
Well, it is a very full experience, which I really appreciate, and
Ooh,
the worlds and
nice.
everything. It's really cool.
What is this?
Here we go.
What is it?
Oh no, you put it away. I just put our screens back big.
It's okay. This will make more sense.
Yeah. That was to say, it's the little key from the from Fifth Element. But yeah, great stuff, and I hope to see more from y'all together as a team. Being it seems that you all enjoy each
100%.
each other's essence, if you will. So
Yeah,
it's
he's
good
really
that
work well together.
yeah. Once you've, I'm gonna tell y'all that's very rare within Dreams, like to have like a full knit team that does enjoy like working with each other and enough to actually see a vision through. As I tell people all the time, it's why I consider any game or movie or television series to be a miracle, because when you think of how hard it is to get everyone on the same page for the simplest, most mundane of actions that we all go through in our daily life. How hard it is to ask your significant other what you're going to eat tonight. Like it's to have all as many people working on these projects and to still bring out something, even if it, like, no one sets out to make anything bad. But even if it turns out bad, like what people put out is not the worst thing you'll ever see. And it's still a miracle to have people working together for one vision and trying to execute it. So, like I said, congratulations to all of you on the new release of Epsilon.
Thank
and
you.
Everybody go play it. And
Yes, please.
I was actually continuing my playthrough right before we got on when I started having to mess with the cameras. So
I do think more than anything, just even if a lot of this is in our spare time, we have other jobs, whatever. It's been over a year in development, right? Like it's a big progress. A lot of progress is made in like the last half, right? But it's still a lot of work.
Oh yeah.
And everyone, who gets involved, knowing that you can respect each other for the time put in. And sure, Dreams makes it much easier to produce. This would have taken years to do in like Unreal or whatever. Or maybe not Unreal 5, not as much, but in traditional engines it's a lot more of a stretch to like learn all these different aspects and other programs to then combine them and then compile them and then test them. And then Dreams lets you just do all of it at the same time in the same space. And like, it's why we were able to do this, because we were all just been like experimenting and playing with this game that happens to
Yeah.
form.
So
and I think that's why I love it.
Well, I'm still trying to get past my little mental humps here, but I plan to return back. And every time I talk with or speak
Imposter
with
syndrome
someone,
is real.
yeah, but it's for me, it's a little more different. It's I don't ever think I'm not worthy for anything.
No, I'm just speaking personally, but
Okay.
it is also just a lot of learning. There's so much you can do. It's just very logic still baffles me in many ways, even though I kind of know how our game works.
See, I have a
I'm
partnership.
exactly the same.
I have a partnership. Jammy's taking on the logic. I took on the sculpting and story, and then we're gonna recombine into a group that can
into one.
Yes, yes.
Mighty
I
Jimmy.
think taking Dreamiverse assets and reverse engineering them is the most like lucrative way to learn Dreams for me. And literally how Java figured out how to make Epsilon was to reverse engineer things other people had made and see how they work and then understand what they did so that we can make what we need. So sticker tag, there's all this cool stuff on Twitter, and oftentimes a lot of people will upload examples for you to remix. And even if you don't make anything, just taking it apart and like seeing what does what has really helped my headspace, like just to like understand what causes, what creates this effect, what creates that. Like, I don't know if you've seen my logo animation for my MultiverseMoo. It's got portals and stuff in it, right? And I learned how to do that by combining stuff I learned through Gucci's Bell, through my own experimenting, and because of it's basic stuff, but I just didn't wrap my head around it initially. With what we did for like some of the effects in Epsilon, with how like clouds are produced, or how water is produced, or foam, like the way they use things to make like the waterfall look the way it does. Like seeing how people make that, and you can just find that in the Dreamiverse, a waterfall with foam and all this stuff, and take apart the elements, just made me go, oh, duh, I can do this, and I do this, and then you combine the two, and it looks like some other things happening. So,
And another person, as far as effects goes, I don't know if you were watching our podcast at that time, but the masterclass that MC Alchemist did for
Bro.
paint.
Crazy.
If you haven't seen that on the YouTube channel, check that out, because he does some of the most ridiculous like effects with paint that I've seen in Dreams as a whole. But I don't even want to know
Yeah.
what he's doing now with like the stickers
and stuff.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
like it's gonna
Yeah,
get
that's-
ridiculous.
So I'm remaking. Okay, so here's one thing. I didn't talk about this because it's kind of been sitting there, and I've been like trying to figure out my best way to do this. For my Twitch and YouTube, I wanted to make essentially a sci-fi interior, kind of lo-fi vibe that I can transition to different rooms or windows or spaces. So when I go to my Be Right Back, or when there's like the intro countdown, or when I'm showing media, or when it's just me talking, we would actually fly to some part of the spaceship. It's a small ship, but you go to this and something would unravel, right? Right now I have like screens coming down and like chairs rolling out of the way and stuff. Basic stuff. That's where I'm going to be messing with like the stickers and whatnot to do some really neat effects. Like you go into the back room where the engine is. Maybe I can have like a warp core back there,
Oh,
something.
nice.
Very cool.
And that's going to be all made, in Dreams, with maybe some stitching together to like make it all fit together, or cut it up for OBS or whatever. But yeah, people are making some really cool stuff,
Aren't they?
like
Yeah.
with this update, and even like just the simplest thing that they finally added, which is that the paint can glow now and emit light properly.
Yeah.
Some cool stuff. Some
Well-
cool stuff people can do, because lit particles were like not even a thing for a long time. Like Killzone was having trouble doing that for a while, and like
Yeah.
properly, but they pulled it off and it looked really cool, and like now Dreams can do that.
As far as you were talking about having like a hologram or video screen that like animated, you may want to talk with Scott at SZ73.
Yes. 38.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On Twitter, because if you remember at Dreamscom, he did the integrated video work for his booth, and a few people did it during Dreamscom, and all of them were impressive, but the way he did it seemed to be different from the way other people were pulling off. It seemed way more interactive or something.
Yeah, so for mine, it's just right now, it's just a tracking like screen I made. Because what I'm going to do is just track video into it, either using an intro that I literally composite in DaVinci Resolve, or with like OBS, so that you can watch like clips or something when I do a BR back screen. I'm not sure if I can jump that far in. I would love to do stuff like that. I'll probably look into that for like Epsilon and other projects, but I'm probably gonna like rely on my VFX know-how to do video compositing on top of that.
I mean, I get it. If you know how to
However,
do it.
however, the cool thing about doing it that way, and what Zephyr did, is that the paint glows. So when you can project stickers onto paint and make it invisible, only the stuff that comes onto screen glows, and you can have it reflect on the material below, which is what's in that Twitter thing he did.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to
get a
find
link.
that real
Yeah, I need
quick.
to-
So I
I'll
can
show you a
take
link
a-
right now.
check
It
that
was
out.
actually really cool. It's in my likes. Let me post it. Twitch chat all right?
Huh?
Is the Twitch chat all right? Here,
Oh yeah,
in
it's
case-
fine. Yeah.
There you go. I thought
we
this was
go.
really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, it's so dope. It's so dope.
That's so good. Like how
Yeah.
the light reflects onto the surface as well is
Mhm.
really good.
Just wow. Well, we have reached. Can we see it, guys? Let me see if I can get this to work. let me see if I can reach.
Wow, this is amazing, and everyone can't see what we're seeing.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. Let me see. This might look real jank, but let me see if I can do this. Hold on.
And then here's my logo. I know if it's too much of a hassle, don't worry about it. But this is a logo animation I made in Dream.
Okay,
myself.
so that should be set. Yeah, I'm trying to work this out live. Don't fail me now.
I know we're a bit over time, so I apologize for that.
Oh no. We're not over time.
Okay,
but I'm trying to save enough time so we don't go overtime with with the with where is it? No, that's not it. That's definitely not what I was looking for.
Oh, the settings.
Yeah. Oh, I see what the problem is. You know what? I can do this. One moment.
A live show, guys. It's a live
Yep,
show.
it's a live show.
Oh, I know why Ratchet and Clank was on my brain. Today's the 20th anniversary.
It is, yes. They're releasing a ton of new stuff.
I love Ratchet and Clank.
They're doing like a new AMA pack, I think, for Rift Apart, and they're releasing all the old games onto PS Plus Premium.
Also, it's
Is
somebody's birthday today.
Is there a reason that this thing is not allowing
Whose
me?
birthday?
He is the pivotal or quintessential, let's say that, dreams maestro, I would say, in terms of creating content that's just ridiculous. Martin Nebelung.
Ah.
I think that's probably okay to say. We're friends on
Oh,
Facebook,
no,
so I don't know if it's public or not.
I would agree. He is quintessential 100%.
Oh, I just meant I don't know if his birthday is public or not.
All right, okay.
I'm
Well,
trying
I
to-
mean,
He's on Facebook and we're friends on there, and it says
Can we just like appreciate for the second like how quick he does stuff?
oh yeah,
Like it's insane how
He is-
quickly he puts stuff out.
stupid fast with the
Yeah.
like
The moves. Oh man.
yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
He's just like this. He's just whizzing around, and oh, he's
Mhm.
crazy.
And then
Crazy
I'm
bad.
like, oh, is this the time? No, it's not the time lapse. Now it's the time lapse.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I mean, I've been there too, though, where I use my moves to sculpt stuff pretty fast. Just doesn't look anything like what he does. It just looks like clay smushed
Okay.
together.
Let me. Now, for some reason, it wasn't working. But guys, this is what he was talking about.
Yeah, this is
Look how that lighting just works. It's so fluid.
yeah. So I believe it's transparent sculpt or paint rather,
Yeah.
and the projected text gadgets animated on top are causing it to glow.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is such a powerful addition. Like Java used it for some of the stuff that I don't want to get too specific about for the sake of Mighty Vicious, since he's still playing it. But there's some. I mean, even earlier we've used that. I think even the cave to get really nice caustics and like reflections of water and other lighting effects that like it's just invisible paint, right? But it does such a nice little magical effect.
All smoke and mirrors. Gotta love it.
Yeah, but if it looks great though, work.
Let me see here. And one more thing. We'll just there.
Bad Robo. I was just maybe I'm wrong. I was just mentioning what Yoffer was telling me yesterday. It's a sculpt, but he said the paint, invisible paint, is what he used for the overlay part. Maybe I'm way off, but either way, it looks insane. And
I'm
I
just
like,
showing the MultiverseMoo logo thing.
yeah. So this is like an earlier version of the logo animation I did, but yeah,
Yeah.
Have
So
we seen Doctor Who inspiration here from
a
their
little bit of
intro?
that.
Yeah.
I also did like a inspired by Interstellar
Mm-hmm.
version of
Mm-hmm.
that in Cinema 4D like a few years back. And even that animation in the beginning is something that I wasn't sure I could pull off in Dreams super easily, and then I pulled it off anyway. Like it's actually just moving sculpts.
It's just so satisfying though, like when you're doing something and you don't know how to do it and you just figure it out in dreams. You're like,
Mhm.
oh, it works, great. I actually did that yesterday.
Oh yeah.
so
Yeah, I
Java
wasn't sure about that.
said regarding the reflections of the water in the cave are not stickers, they are invisible sculptures rotating with spotlights. Nice.
Ooh. Cucaloris, then. That's what that is.
Only
There's
only
another
good things, piece of craft.
There's another term I'm trying to remember. But Cucaloris is what I learned because it's like the textured cutouts that you put in front of lights to project
Yeah.
shapes and such.
Let me see here. So with that,
Hey, piece
I
of
do
crap.
I do want to go over the last of the closing discussion, which is just the
Yes.
fun topic.
Let's do it.
After your boy's birthday 2 weeks ago, I kind of got injured and I was out of commission. So my Halloween was kind of during a week of immense pain. But I got together with my brother to watch what some article he sent me where this guy said this is the scariest movie he ever watched. And so I'm going to share what that was. But I want to know what everybody watched movie wise for Halloween. What was your pick of the night? For those that, after you got dressed dressed up and probably went out and caused havoc. What movie did you watch on Halloween?
Well, I didn't watch anything. My wife watched Nightmare.
Shocking.
Yeah, I know. my, my wife was watching Nightmare Before Christmas. That's an annual Halloween film to watch because it's a mixture of Halloween and Christmas. I was just working on Pitch Black. That's what I did Halloween. I'm not really a big Halloween guy. I'm more of a Christmas guy, so.
That ain't got nothing to do with the movies, bro.
Yeah.
Have you haven't watched one movie suggestion I've sent you, have you?
No.
After 2 years of friendship and all the things that I've said, I have a whole channel on my Discord showing people what I've been watching.
I know. I'm sorry.
How'd you get injured, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, basically, just have a lot of leg issues or
okay.
like knee and ankle issues from
Me too, sometimes.
things that happened when I basically broke my foot off when I was in high school.
Okay.
And was playing baseball, was catching a ball, a pop up, stepped in a hole, did a 360. My foot stayed in the same place. Had to go to the hospital. First time I ever, and only time I've ever broken a bone. And my foot was just hanging from the skin. It was wild. But since
Fittingly
then,
gruesome.
yes. So since then, just I have a lot of issues with my ankles or my knee, and because you never get back in alignment really after something like that. So, at least I got a couple of years before it really started hurting. But okay, so we have the Nightmare Before Christmas garbage. As far as a Halloween movie goes, I mean, come on.
Yeah. I also got hurt recently too. That's why I was.
Yeah.
It wasn't too bad. It was like I pulled an ankle or something in my knee. I'm not sure. It was VR. It did it. There's a game called Bone Lab.
Boom.
Lab, yeah, great.
It's a lot of fun, and there's a mod for it that lets you stick a camera like in the world, like third person style for the spectator cam, which you can capture. You still see it in VR, but I was trying to do like a John Wick thing and like run around and shoot a bunch of the enemies that I spawned and like spin around, and I even hit my TV at one point on stream, but
Oh,
after
no.
that is when I was trying to record with the mod and I hurt myself. I like tripped over my cable or something and like stepped wrong and I was out of commission for a few days. I'm all better now.
Good.
As
good.
far as as far as movies go, maybe the week before I just decided to watch Hocus Pocus. No, is it Hocus Pocus?
Yeah,
The new one?
Hocus
Yeah.
Pocus
The new one,
2,
yeah.
Yeah. Just as like a dumb popcorn movie, but actually Rip 2, he does like a almost every week we have a watch party in his Discord and such, and he did a double feature of two movies I had never seen, and I very much enjoyed both. One of them was called Absentia, which is like a very indie horror film.
Yes, seen it.
I initially wasn't like totally like invested because like some of it was just like the characters were just I couldn't relate or I just hated them or something. I don't
Yeah.
know. But
I
at
get you.
least about halfway in, I like some of them had really grown on me, like, and I understood their plight and like really cool concept. Yeah, Hocus Pocus 2 is totally bad, but I still had dumb fun with it, and I was able to do other stuff while it was playing on my other monitor. The other film was an even older film, The Stone. Hold on, it was a weird one. The Stone Tape. There we go. Thank you, Rip 2.
The Stone.
That was
Tape.
also a very unique concept. Yeah. It's like a bunch of scientists move into this old decrepit building to like work on stuff and discover a ghost or something, and then they decide to study it. That's like the premise. I don't want to say anything else, but like it's really cool because you really don't see that often where like scientists decide, oh, there's something weird here. Let's just hang out.
And this was the TV movie from like 1972.
I guess it looked kind of like Doctor Who from the 70s.
Okay. I have
It's totally
I've
like a
seen the
British
cover
film.
of it. I have not seen this, which
It's
rare.
It's kind of old.
it
like,
is.
in
It's rare
terms of,
enough to
like,
throw me off. Yeah.
Yeah.
characters and whatnot. And, it's kind of definitely a period piece in a way, or
Huh.
it's set. It's from its time, but when you watch it and like the way things unfold, I thought it was actually really cool and what it's about. And it's funny because when you finally understand what it's really about and what the title means and all that, and you look at what existed in the 60s and 70s and 80s in terms of technology, you go, oh, this is like the earliest computer horror story almost, but not.
Let me see. I want to see what chat said they watched. Piece of Craft said I watched the OG Halloween for the first time. Way better
nice.
than anything they've done really since. So yeah, good stuff. Wendell and Wild. I still have much to do. I have not started that yet. Hereditary. I don't love it as much as everyone else does, but that counts. Barbarian. I heard Barbarian was not as good as everyone's been saying it is. But what do you think, Rip 2? Should I give it my time? I'll be waiting for that answer. Let me see here. Always bad late if I catch you live. It's all good, bad dreams. Hocus Pocus 2 is unbearably bad. So I've heard. I didn't want to give it my time personally.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
I like the first one, so I decided to put it on and do
Yeah.
something.
Wait. Oh, a bunch of stuff about Stone Tape. I was trying to stay like at the top in chat just to make sure I didn't run out of anything. So anyway, I watched a 1984 BBC made-for-TV movie called Threads, which is absolutely if it is actually devastatingly terrifying.
Really?
I've always said like one of the scariest movies because there's different things as far as horror goes. There's the people who just want jump scares and they have that momentary it's so scary, or you have the psychological horror that like stays with you and you think about it and then it just slowly eats at you. That's what I would put this movie Threads under. because one, the fact that it was the quality that it was as a 1984, even their composite work was blowing me away. Because I was like, yo, for compositing in the day, they were doing a lot. It wasn't so easy back then, but it's really good. But it's not one of those, there's a monster and it's gonna eat you or something's gonna jump out with a knife and stab you. It's literally, I would call it a socioeconomical horror.
Okay.
And that is it. Yeah. The only movie I think that's gotten close to that, other than like Ju-on, is probably the original Pulse, the Japanese film. That movie. Oh, that movie made me feel so desolate for like 3 months. It struck me on a mental level that was just yeah. It's all I can think about as far as like to describe it is just being stripped away until you're just desolate of emotion and connection. But maybe that's not something people should watch. But those would be those. But my brother downloaded it immediately and was like, "I have to watch it now." So he went over to Amazon, was like, "Rent, give it over here." Because
I'm not sure if this came out. I think it came out around Halloween. I'm trying to find. It's Peter Capaldi, who was one of the doctors, which is what initially like made me go, huh? It's a 6-part special series, and it's on Amazon Prime called The Devil's Hour. It is and that's just referencing the time, 3:33 a.m. It is a sci-fi thriller, I would say akin to like a psychological horror movie, that I think was something that still sticks with me with what it means. Because I love the idea of like dreams being, other dimensions and other stuff like that, like memory and whatnot. That's why I like Final Fantasy VII as well. That's why I like Evangelion, where like the head space, the head trip, that kind of stuff. If you want to like watch something that's like suitably trippy in like not like a psychedelic way, but more like a, what the hell is going on? Like, why is this happening? And why does it make sense to me, but not to them? And even I don't understand kind of way. That was a fun watch. The Devil's Hour. It's like 6 episodes. Like that's it. There's no more to it that I'm aware of. It's on Amazon Prime. And Peter Capaldi is suitably creepy, but like in a menacing way. Which I know the Doctor Who that he played was kind of like that too, because he was like an angry Scottish guy. But but no, his character is like. Doesn't he seems to think that what he's doing is right, and maybe it is. I don't know.
Have you seen? Well, the thing you're talking about, dreams and other dimensions. Like, I think I'm probably gonna go back to working on my story that deals with that. I created 2 little shorts in dreams that Jamie hates because they're too short.
Are we talking about Dream Samsara?
Yeah, because that was the script that I'm basically making the dreams equivalent from the script I wrote called Dream Samsara. And it's basically this guy goes to sleep and you're following him through his dreams and how they link up. But it's an anthology series set so that basically the dreams could be, because we have about like anywhere between 7 to like 15 dreams a night, but we usually only remember one of them. And so this idea is that these are the stories that this person's dreaming about, but they're all interlinked as far as, you following this character through each of them. And it has a bunch of dreams that I've had in my life. And some of the crazy ones, like where I stopped was the one where I was basically a meteor hit Earth. And every time a meteor would hit, the water level would rise. And so at the end, it was just me floating like high up in the sky on water, even though that's not how that works. And and all I could see beneath me was just everyone I know, just like basically like
dang.
fading into the darkness of the water. Then there was the one about death. And like that is like a fight scene that takes place across an entire city and train and everything, only to turn into a love story. And like I said, I made 2 of them just as like a tease, and those are on the YouTube. But
Okay.
Jimmy hates them because there's because
I don't
he's
hate
like
them.
it's
I
so
love them. Right, they are like the most interesting, captivating stories where 20 seconds in, you're hooked. You're like, this is cool, this is different, what is this, what's going on? And then it's over because they're 60 seconds long. They are way too short. They need to be a 15-minute episode each, and I want a whole series. I want a
But
whole
see-
box set.
See, but that's the point, though. Dreams work like that. Like, not
know,
like
but-
you can have a dream that literally, you know, who knows? Maybe it's you waking up, or maybe it just flips a switch and a whole different dream starts. Like, you're not gonna get, like, you'll get some full stories, but some of them are literally the concept itself and the interest of the concept, and where your mind takes that. It's not about, like, once it's been planted, it's no longer about what I'm showing you. It's
but
about
you know
where
what?
your mind will
Okay.
take it.
Yeah, but,
But-
do you know when you like watch a film and they leave the ending open to interpretation? Like,
Well,
that's
if you-
the worst way.
Well-
the worst way to end anything. I hate that.
okay.
It's terrible.
Most of the time, it's not really left open if they're good. It's just not holding your hand through it. But this is different because, yeah, I can understand if I gave you something and it was like an hour long. And then I was like, no, you figure it out. And I don't need to write anymore. I've already stroked myself enough. Like, if that was the case, then yeah, be mad. But, bruh, I'm good, but 60 seconds, that's enough for you to be like, ooh, I would like to see what more he has in the tank. Not, oh my God, he needs to finish this. He needs to give me every answer. Like, come on, man, it's 60 seconds.
I
And
know,
it's not
but
even the full
I
60
want it to
seconds.
be longer than 60 seconds, though. Like, the
I want to-
ideas that you have, though, are captivating. You need to do more with it.
I want to give you those ideas, and as soon as I get over my mental hump, as soon
Please
as
hurry.
I
Hurry?
can get, I'm trying. I feel like I'll know when dreams truly want me back. Like, I feel like I'll know when the time is right.
Now is the time. Come on.
Well,
You've
maybe.
had long enough away.
Maybe
You just need to jump back in. Like, just start. Just slowly make your way back in. Just log in and go into dream shaping and just twinkle with something and see where it takes you.
And I mean, I'm just saying, it's coming. The time is coming.
All right.
It's
All right.
just, we will see.
After the show, we'll have a little something to bring up.
Oh, okay. All right. So
I don't want
we
to go down this rabbit hole.
Speaking of, we should start to wrap up because we're hitting the 2-hour mark.
you better be back before the 100th episode. Lol. Don't worry, I'll get it done. I'll get it done.
There's my senior thesis project and this like other short like series idea that I wrote have a lot to do with like the dream state and dreams in general. And we literally built what I dubbed the dream machine. My friend like helped me build the prop for it. It's in my garage. You can put on your head. It looks a lot like the Peripheral, but with a big LED band from that show. And yeah, we can get into that a little bit if you want. It's a sci-fi interactive Netflix series idea we had in my films class. Unfortunately, after filming and putting a bunch of it together, the hard drive that had all the stuff on it, when I was trying to back it up to another drive, got damaged and I lost most of the footage. Yeah. I still passed and everything, but like, I lost all this stuff.
That really hits.
And-
that really hits home.
Oh
Like,
man, no, I was devastated. I
and
was
here-
severely devastated because this is years. This was like 2004, 2005, 14 and 15. Sorry. And so before interactive Netflix was even like doing its before that Black Mirror.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. Before.
Yeah, they're
Black
here
Mirror.
like in this area. So we had a friend who we were trying to pitch it to, and they were like really curious about this interactive show / augmented reality game that was going to be like This is before Pokemon Go, even, like
Mm.
we had we had this concept laid out, and someone was designing like a preview version of it where you could like see other dimensions and like but only like small like visuals, and you can take a photo of like this creature that has slipped through from the other side. At the time, it was riffing on the same company, Niantic. They have this game that like you find these like cracks in reality, and you can siphon power from it. I can't remember what it's called right now, but uh, yeah, that was our target. My senior thesis project was like an interactive TV show involving dream state and including rising water levels and other stuff. Might be interesting to talk about.
Well, the thing about the data corruption, the reason I was making that face is because that's part of my issue. Is that for the first year that Dreams was out, I worked on a film just by myself every day. And every day I would wake up, do it, work on it. And basically data corruption erased all of it except for behind the scenes, like little clips that I had basically put to YouTube just so I could try to do like a behind the scenes type thing with it. But I lost everything. And yeah, and there's like a trust thing that comes. It's like, it's not Dreams' like fault. It's my fault at the end of the day. Because I didn't save online. Yes, Big Mofo Gaming. That's why I come on here every other week screaming at people to save online, because I didn't really understand what saving online was, but I didn't think of I wasn't thinking of anything except working on this thing. Like I literally would get up in the morning, start building assets, start building like layouts, backgrounds, start learning as much as I could about animation. And that was me from morning to night for a year. And after all that work to have it taken away,
that's the extent here too. So
yeah,
I'll give you the shorthand version is that Multiverse, right? That's my full like online alias. I got these actors to work with us for at film school, and we made this thing called Infringement, inspired by Fringe, but not right. It was a joke on the term, but that wasn't the actual title. So we filmed this stuff, and it leads them to this weird moment in like what's happening, and like they go and they see something on the other side, and we don't tell them what it is. I don't tell the actors. Fast forward 6 months, okay? I get some of the same actors and a couple of new ones to film a different project. And the two stoner characters, the two actors, they're like, "Is this the same project? Why are these characters so similar?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's the same project. You're who you're gonna look at from the other side."
yes.
But that's two. So that was two productions, a lot of money and a lot of filming. And the first part of it was the brain machine and these like people who were like covering it, right? And like and that ties into like an anti-grav experiment in below the Bay Area, which starts causing a collapse of the Earth structure and all this other crap. Anyway, and then also this guy, his wife dies, and then he sees her, but through his dream machine,
Yeah.
or his not his wife, but his bride to be, fiance. And so both those sides, the majority of that first half are just gone. Like the files gone. All I have is like the work print, like some of the dailies, and I had to use a little of that. Yeah. So I put together like a teaser trailer for that, and my teacher knew the story and knew what happened, and he really liked what I did. So the unfortunate part is that I lost a year plus of work, and it's sucked.
I'm trying to find this movie because there was some black and white indie film I watched last year, and it was about this like basically it was like time travel, except when you put on this headset, you wouldn't necessarily time travel as much as you would just basically hijack someone else's brain and become them.
So like Quantum Leap?
Yeah, like Quantum Leap. But you would become them, but it was really low budget, but it was like really good for what it was.
Was
Something.
it Surrogate?
No, bro. You first of all, come on now. Black and white indie movie.
Oh, Black and White. Sorry, no,
you're not
no,
even listening
yeah,
to me.
no,
You're not even
no,
listening
no,
to it.
no. You're talking movies. I'm just blanking out.
I appreciate you trying though. I do. I appreciate it. But yeah, I was trying to figure it out. But I also got to watch that new show Peripheral because it has my girl in it.
Yeah, that's
Montauk
interesting.
Project, but
Yeah.
I know I've heard of it before. I'm trying to think of what you're talking about because that does sound familiar. So this idea, this Project A mod, right? I had this in high school, so like 2002, 2003. But I didn't start writing it until film school. Where like we wrote like the first season, kind of roughly, and then like the first 2 episodes. I would say 2012, somewhere in there, 2013. Yeah, it's kind of what? White computer parts.
Yeah, he gets extremely racist when it comes to his computer parts. Everything has to be white.
Oh, gotcha.
Everything.
It's my favorite color.
He's willing. I bet it is. You,
Well, my PS5 is black and has a red light.
a man of culture.
It also has an Evangelion on front of it, sort of.
Nice.
A little
Nice.
custom vinyl. Yeah, and then the short one. This is something that I was thinking about making in dreams for a bit.
Oh no! Did we just lose him? We just lost him.
Oh, he's gone. Oh,
no,
is he
he's back.
I guess Discord decided to restart itself.
Oh,
okay.
No, you were just gone. Your camera's off though on my. Oh wait, there we go.
There we
go.
We're back.
Yeah, no, it just appeared and then a gray square showed up and it rebooted.
All right.
But no, it's just it's a time loop. It's like a sci-fi people know what time loop means, but it just means like a moment repeating in time. And I've already done like a short film called Timeout, which is connected to a time loop or like frozen piece of time, and somebody gets sent back and is like a hobo looking guy who's trying to build a time machine to go back to the moment he came from to save everyone who's frozen. Maybe John Teeter expired, I don't know. But there's a time loop idea that I had I want to say like sometime after high school, so maybe 2006, 2007. And then I just started coming up. Like, I had dreams about it too. Like it's literally dreams I've had. And it's somebody who like wakes up and is like riding a bike to like power up the cells in their little like this little shack that they're staying in because power's out pretty much everywhere for some reason. And then they like they work out, they eat food, and then they start their drive to a location, and then like things are like literally frozen in the background or just happening over and over. We can get into that later, but I was thinking of making that in dreams at some point because I thought I can just replay timelines. I can make all sorts of weird
makes it
stuff
so
happen.
easy. Yeah, just loop the timelines. Yeah.
Much easier than trying to do it with live action, which is it was I always envisioned it as like the live action short film, but
I'm trying to think of what my favorite loop stories are, because I mean you have The Jacket and Primer, but then there's like the one I consider to be one of the greatest of all time, but I went blank on the name. It's a Spanish film. Oh, come on. Times. Come on. The time is in the name, but it's so good.
Yeah, source code is really neat. And that's dealing with like quantum mechanics and stuff. I love that stuff too.
Time spinning.
Have
you seen The Jacket?
Jacket. I'm not sure. Maybe is it?
It's the one with Adrian Brody where basically he's a soldier returning from war. He stops to help a woman fix her car, and he
saying exactly what I was thinking of too. Sorry.
yeah, and he blacks out and basically wakes up, and the mom's been killed, and he
That
gets
sounds
sent
super
into
familiar.
he gets sent into a institution,
Yeah.
and basically at the institution, the doctor's doing some crazy experiment, and where he like basically drugs someone and drugs the patients and locks them in a meat drawer, basically. And
Shit.
when he locks him in there, Brody wakes up. Basically, I think it's 3 years or 5 years in the future, and finds out that he died 2 days from when he was put in the locker. And he's trying to figure out what happened to him.
That's a good plot.
It's so good, and
Yeah.
not many people have seen it. But
Primer's a good
Time
tragic
Crimes.
movie.
Time
Oh,
Crimes.
yeah, that sounds familiar.
Time Crimes.
I don't
That
know if I've
is,
seen it, but I might have it saved.
it's
somewhere.
it's so delicious. If you have not seen Time Crimes, people, do that. Do that. It's
Where
so
is
good.
that? Is that on something?
It used to be on Netflix way back in the day, but I don't think it's on there anymore. But Time Crimes.
It's free a few places, so that's good.
Oh yeah, oh god, this movie is so friggin' good.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I know it came up at some point and I saved it because sometimes I'll look at my phone and be like,
God, that's
you know,
from
it's the best
2007. I'm so
sci-fi
old.
films of blah blah blah.
So old, but Magnolia Select.
Yeah, Primer's not really a time
Pluto.
one, but it's a good one to wrap your head around if you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Live Die Repeat, or what was the other name they used for it?
The name they
Edge of Tomorrow.
This is a subject. I hate it. Because
that it's called Live Die Repeat instead of Edge of Tomorrow.
No, Edge
No,
of
the other
Tomorrow. Edge of Tomorrow was the name. Live Die
and the
Repeat is
slogan.
what they changed the name to when it came out on Blu-ray. But the original name from the manga that they actually got the story from, which is the greatest name of all time, is All You Need Is Kill. And I'm like, why would you not use that title? All You Need Is Kill is like the greatest thing ever. I hate it, but anyway, Time Crimes is amazing. Don't doubt me. Just go watch the movie. Okay. You will come back singing the praises. I'm talking to Char in chat. Talking about it sounds like a comedy. I'm not gonna lie. There are funny things about it, but when you figure it out, it's delicious. Does your co-host hate movies? What's his deal? Look. I've come to realize that a lot of gamers don't really watch movies. Not like talking about it. And I've just come to realize such things. Like, I mean, I never thought about it before, but like since I've been streaming and in the gamer space and Twitch, I've noticed that a lot of the people I talk to really just don't watch movies. Like just put it to put it like this: if watching movies was dreams, I'd be Martin Neverlong. That's basically where we sit. And my brother would be he would probably be Media Molecule, but that's it. But because that man goes hard. But yeah, like as many games as y'all play, like, I mean, somebody guess how many movies I watch in a year. Somebody throw a number as to how many you think I watch in a year. Feel free to throw one also, Multiverse, if you want to throw it in.
Of what? Sorry.
As a tip, it's more than you think.
As a what?
As a tip, it's more than you think.
I was trying to remember some stuff. I know you're not the biggest, or it sounds like you're not that into Doctor Who or anything, but specifically Mighty.
I only have ever seen, out of trying to get into Doctor Who multiple times, because all my friends love it. And I'm just like, every now and again, I'm like, man, something's got to be wrong with you. You need to give this show another chance. So I start.
Just like anything though, there's hit and miss, you know?
Yeah. And I've seen maybe 3 episodes that I've liked that I was like, yo, that's really solid. Everything else I've seen has made me not ever want to try it again. But I always try again. At some point, I'll come back and be like, okay, someone said that this doctor is the best doctor. I'ma see. And I'll go and watch, and I'm just like, should I don't think I need that person as a friend anymore. I just don't.
I only thinking about it because so often, like a lot of the stories are only single episodes, sometimes 2 episodes, and that lets them work on some neat concepts that are very different, right? It's just like any sci-fi show that gets a chance to like do its own thing. So there's been some really fun, like wild, even time loop kind of things in Doctor Who. And there was one that I was off the bat I've been thinking about. I've always really liked it. And it was not an episode that was on like a regular show. It was like a special they did for, I think, Red Nose Day. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
And so you're familiar with the blue TARDIS, right? The police box, what it is?
Yeah, I've
Yes.
watched Doctor Who,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, yeah, I know you have, James. But specifically, it is the size of like, it's bigger than a stadium, right? It's massive, the spaceship. Like if it were to land on the planet, it would crack the surface of the ground, right? It would like sink into Earth. That's how big the spaceship really is. But we see it as a tiny little blue box. So knowing that as a fundamental thing of like it's bigger on the inside, it's a cool little meme, right? Yeah, it is massive. So in this Red Nose Day special, for some reason something goes wrong while they're like working on like underneath the console. I think there's like a joke about one of the characters and her husband, and she's like not wearing skirts or something. She's going commando. And they're like, whoa. He's like, but I'm her husband. And he's like, well, then you're on your own. And something goes spark, and the TARDIS, which it can dematerialize and materialize somewhere else, right? Both it travels in space and time, but that means from our perspective, it disappears and then it appears somewhere else. And you step out and you're somewhere else. Only this time, it materializes inside of itself. So just down the step near the doorway that you normally go out of the box is now inside. And out comes two of the characters that are already standing there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get
And
you.
it progresses from there. And it's such a neat concept because I've seen time loop stuff, but never a time loop that happens within itself like that, where the time machine is inside of itself.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's just a cool concept, and I love that there's stuff like that. Another one, and I used to have this as a poster in a different we live somewhere else. It's the Starry Night
Van
Gogh painting, but it's the TARDIS exploding, which is actually from an episode where he delivers this painting. And it's TARDIS, and the thing is that something's gone wrong with the TARDIS, and the Doctor's wife, as she's called, or River Song, is trapped in a time loop that has been engaged as a safety measure because the TARDIS, like in the painting, is exploding in the night sky. And in order to save her life, it has locked her into a time loop where she's trying to stop the explosion, and right before she dies, it restarts. And they've got to figure out how to deal with that. So there's some, there's some zany stuff and some weird stuff that is kind of funky in Doctor Who sometimes. Some episodes that I just never want to see again. And then there's stuff like that I just really enjoy as a storyteller and as a sci-fi fan. I'm like, oh man, what a trippy concept that they got to work on.
See, the only thing I've seen so far or through my different attempts, is probably the Weeping Angels.
Yeah,
those are like that. I think it's been 2 episodes that I saw with them, and I was like, that is actually awesome. And
Blink?
like yes.
The horror-esque ones, those are good
yeah.
ones to start on for like that. There's different aspects, right? So depending on the showrunner, depending on the era, depending on the season, and even the older Doctor Who's, there are just some storylines and some characters that really do some really cool stuff. Like there's the one of my favorites is called the Vashta Narada. Because I've thought about this before. It's a creature that you can't really see because it's almost like appalling in terms of scale. But the way you can tell if it's in the room with you is if you're standing in together with people and everyone has one shadow, but somebody has a second shadow, that's the Vashta Nerada, and that person is about to potentially die and be taken over and spoken through. And these are like things that come out of the trees or something like that. They live in books and stuff in this giant library. It's just such a cool concept and kind of terrifying.
See, I need somebody to be like my guide through Doctor Who.
Well, you have one.
Yeah,
You have one
like
right here.
like
Here's
be
your
like,
guide.
what do I
I've been
watch
wanting
next?
I've been wanting to go back and watch Doctor Who with some people, and specifically just key episodes that like are cohesive enough throughout the seasons. Would skip a lot of the wild ones that just don't, that are just, they feel like filler episodes and don't really add anything unique. So maybe we can do that in the future. I don't know.
You could do the Doctor Who MultiverseMoo cut.
Yeah. So basically, being the nobody guessed at how many movies, basically you can.
That's what you were asking earlier.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. But basically, you can put it at about a rough estimate. I would say probably about 11 to 1,200 a year.
A year.
Oh, how many movies you watch yearly?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
And so I go way back. That's why I said, like, for this.
What does that work out a day?
Basically, it would.
Jesus, how many films are you watching a day?
It would basically be about. Now, there's off times, but I try to make them up. But there are days where I literally wake up,
like
throw on a movie, and just go through the whole day until the next morning just watching movies. Jesus. Get a little sleep, wake up, do it again. And so I'll knock
like 3 to 4 films a day.
Yeah. And some days more. But that's just how my thing. I love film. So like, I mean, my brother and I joke because there are times where we'll watch a movie and then in the last 5 minutes be like, damn, I saw this movie before. Like we've watched so much stuff that it'll be like, we'll put on something and be like, yo, because a lot of times I will watch with my brother. I haven't been doing it lately. Like this year's looking kind of sad. I think maybe like 700 movies.
Oh, maybe. Oh, that's
it's been like last year was prime. This year has been a little rough because, like I said, mental stuff. But yeah, like there are days where my brother and I'll put on movies, and then we'll just be sitting there like, have we seen this? No, we haven't seen this. And then we'll keep watching and be like, yo, you sure we haven't seen this? And we've been doing this since we were children. So, like, as much as, good Lord, my man came back with an axe.
Someone's ready.
Yes.
Yeah. Someone's ready for Ragnarok.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Sorry. I wanted to grab it earlier and forgot.
But
I was thinking about it when I said the DeLorean.
We really do need to wrap up.
Okay.
Soon.
Well,
because I've got to go. Unless you want to keep going without me, it's up to you guys.
Well,
no, I don't mind wrapping up here, at least on the live version.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. It's been really nice.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed yourself, man.
Talking about what we've been working on, and
yeah,
it's always been fun watching these as well. Really cool to learn about other dreamers.
Oh, thanks.
I think I told you guys this a while back. I did a behind the dreams thing for a little bit, but I found out that like the amount of work that I was trying to put into it and balancing with life just didn't work out. Then I found you guys doing this, and I went, this format's so much easier and better and like personal instead of trying to do this other thing I was doing. And I was just let them have it.
Yeah,
I let them grow and let them take over.
Hey, we appreciate it because
I mean,
like,
and it's it's just ideas, but like that's life, right? You try different things and see what works, and you guys do really well at this podcast. So I hope you guys continue to grow and proliferate. And I don't always make it just dreams. Maybe in the future, I mean, dreams is obviously awesome, and we make dreams, but made in dreams can be non sequitur, right? It can mean other things. Similar, it can still relate to the dreams community.
I've been working on something like that, as far as like, where can we take a moment to stretch out, but it's a little hard. I'm not gonna lie, because there are
Yeah.
a lot of things that are hard with this format. One, I think most dreamers, and by dreamers I mean like artists, are really introverted.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
they don't
something
like
I very
showing
much
their
ran
face.
into besides myself is like the episode I did on what's the oh my gosh. It's the two brothers and they did it's kind of like Mario but it's like a sci-fi wizard.
Um,
Oh my gosh.
Oh god, yeah.
It's one of like the
Brothers?
early platforming amazing games that came out on Dreams.
What are
It
they
was
called?
so good. But they didn't want to, they didn't want to be on camera or anything. They
Yeah.
wanted to just talk.
Yeah, that's we find that all the time.
See,
but-
And
But
that's,
then
and that's,
that's like
fine
the
when you use
least
an
of it.
image.
Yeah.
And some people just wanted to kind of offer spoken, like written responses and not actually talk.
Yeah.
Or not talk publicly,
Yeah. So,
So
I
I
mean,
totally
there's a
get
lot
that.
of different things, but it's just like, that's why we always tell people like, if anybody's welcomed on the show, all you have to do is hit us up, say what Friday you want to do it, and that's it. You can come on the show. The thing we love the most is when someone can express that passion. To be like, yo, this is why I went to Dreams. This has been my life to this point. This is how Dreams helps me. To where we aren't just talking for
Kind
you.
of fish. Yeah, it's like we have to
Yeah.
sometimes we have to fish it out of people. But
Yeah,
it's
and I
great
think
when someone like yourself
the
comes
pre-show
on.
banter really helps, especially if like it was just fun in general, but probably helps folks who might be hesitant to like speak more.
Mm.
And
You've
then even
uncovered
prior
my
to
secret.
that, well, no, I mean that's like
Yeah.
that's a known thing. That's what the green rooms are for.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is that even before then having an initial meeting for some, and I'm saying this for anyone who might want to be on this show but is hesitant because of the introversion, is try it out first privately. Like just if you want to talk about what you made but you don't know about being on here publicly, feel the waters first. Reach out to Mighty Vicious or Jammy James, and you guys can just chat or talk in privacy first and then see how you feel. Because if you feel comfortable enough with them, let them lift you up just enough out of that introversion to talk about stuff. Because even the most introverted people still want to share, even if they share one way or another.
Yeah.
So it comes down to embracing a person one way or another to make them comfortable enough to do it. And I think I used to be super introverted when I was younger and I lived behind the camera. Then I've been super extroverted when I was doing the reality show and living with a band and like all the crazy parties and all that. These days I kind of dip between both, but I'm definitely a lot easier to speak than when I was younger. But I know how it is to like be super introverted.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Todu. Oh no, Todu, stop.
definitely not an attack. Just literally pulling my hand out and saying,
Yeah.
it's not for everyone, but if you're willing to at least give it a try, maybe you'll feel comfortable enough to be on here. Maybe not. At least you do it in the privacy of not being streamed.
Yeah, because I still want Todu to come, and you can. I've told many people, because a lot of people feel uncomfortable because of like language barriers, and I get that. Like that's a real thing, but real talk. As long as I know what language you speak, I'll go as far as to get a translator on this show with us. I don't care. I want to
Totally.
know. Like if I want to speak with you, then I want to speak with you. However that has to happen. So but I understand being uncomfortable, but that's not the same as necessarily what I'm trying to put out there. It's more so just like, it's not everybody's prerogative. Like that's just the way it is. And so it's just less people's prerogative than I thought there would. Because there's a lot of people online typing. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of typers. And I would like to, I want to talk to them. Like, even if I say something that makes anyone who listens to this show mad, I want you to come on and tell me why. Like, like I want to, because I'm all about conversation. That's why I do podcasts. So, you know, I'm just open. And,
I definitely feel safer chatting in text, but I was prepared for today. You gave me the topics ahead of time. I got to think about it. I was awake enough. I had coffee. I kept sipping out of my weird mug. And
what are you talking about? That's a beautiful mug.
oh, it's so beautiful.
It really is.
Yeah, it's something that and I had to do the same thing for Noguchi's Bell when doing the interviews or other stuff. I had to like build up to make sure that I'm ready for it. And then once I get going, though, once you get going in a good conversation with folks, then it becomes a lot easier. Yeah. Which I think is why doing it ahead of time to see how you feel can be super helpful. I already chatted with you guys enough times, like in your chat and like in privacy, that like just typing, that I was like, oh, these people are cool. Like I'm gonna have no problem.
Word. Well, before Jamie just backflips out of the door beside him, we'll go ahead and end this episode. Thanks again to everybody who came through. We love you all. We're happy to see you every week. So we'll be back next week where we'll discuss how Twitter's been aflame this week as far as Dreams has happened. But we didn't want to bring that down. Yes.
Hey!
Yes.
Almost forgot to bring
forgot.
that up. Oh yeah.
But
yeah, we'll talk about that next week, especially if it's still going, like, because it's been pretty wild this week. Like, it's been a whole topic within the Dreams community, so it'll be interesting to see if it continues into next week.
We'll see where it goes before we talk about it. So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Signing off, Mighty Vicious, Jamie James, MultiverseMoo, or Peter. But then watch some movies. Maybe some of the movies that I brought up. Okay?
Yeah.
Come on now. Don't leave me alone. When I bring out this new podcast talking about movies and other video games and television shows, I want y'all to be up to date so that you can keep up with me. All right? So go watch some stuff. And we'll be back here next week. Peace.
See ya.
Have a good one.